Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday. It's January 4th, believe it or not, and I'm on vacation, so I want to apologize for the microphone if it's not clear. Up here in Lake Tahoe, enjoying the snow with the family, so it's been a nice trip. But getting to this Barcelona versus Espanyol game, and coming off of a break, I was just happy to see Barcelona back in again. They started with what you would call their somewhat traditional lineup. Griezmann, Messi, Suarez up front. Rakitic, Busquets, and De Jong in the middle. Roberto on the right, Langley, PK, and Jordi Alba on the left, which is great to see him. The only change was Ter Stegen was not playing and Neto was having his first start for Barcelona, which was also kind of exciting. The game started out kind of what we thought Espanyol would do, but they did it more efficiently than I thought they would do. They played very far back. They played two defensive, very disciplined lines. That fullback line was flat, and then only about 10 yards ahead of them, maybe less, maybe 10, maybe like 7 yards ahead, had their midfield line, and it was hard. They weren't giving Barcelona any room to play with. So basically, in the first half, it was almost like 75% possession Barcelona versus Espanyol, and they just could not get through the line. And there was a few things that obviously stood out to me in this game in the first half. First of all, Barcelona couldn't get anything going. They looked like everybody was still on a holiday. Everybody was still eating all their Christmas food and still, hungover from New Year's, because everyone was a step slow, right? And Espanyol was closing down space. As soon as Barcelona had it, boom, they would take up that space. They didn't have anywhere to go. Everyone would look up and they would end up essentially playing backwards after the fact. Always restarting the play. So they weren't getting anywhere. But unfortunately, De Jong went up for a header at the 21st minute. No, about the 20th minute. Went up for a header, led with his elbow. Got called for a foul. Now, Espanyol was especially aggressive in this game. They were smarter at drawing fouls. They were fouling harder, but they were getting Barcelona's players, especially some of the young players, into situations that they weren't necessarily experienced with. And by young players, I don't mean especially young players, but they were taking advantage of De Jong for sure. They were getting him angry. They were also hacking, stepping on feet, knocking everybody around. And those are the type of situations that get young players caught off guard. So there was a free kick about the 21st minute. The player that was fouled on the previous play, David Lopez, he ended up the recipient of a free kick from the right side of their field. Header, went far post from Neto. Barcelona's down 1-0 in the first half within the first 22 minutes. This was something a lot of people spoke of, that Barcelona was going to have that possibility of an upset this game, and so that's what we were looking at, I would say in general, PK was having a great game. Neto was having a first half. Everything was really well. It was clear that the game plan was to have Jordi Alba run up that left side nonstop, to the point where he had his hand up expecting the ball, even when necessarily the ball wouldn't go to him. He was being especially aggressive, trying to create opportunities. On the other side, you have Roberto, where he runs halfway up into Messi's space, passes it to him. Messi's looking to create an opportunity, but it's almost like Espanyol knows that the only option there is for Messi to take him on one-on-one, because if they play the ball back to Roberto, he's just going to play it back to PK. So they never fall for it anymore. And that's something Messi was running into all game. They knew that the only option was for Messi to take him on, because if they played to any of the lateral players, they were just going to reset the play. So we get into halftime and you're thinking, okay, that was kind of an ugly game. That was a very ugly first half. And the only sub they made was Vidal for Rakitic, so you had the center of Vidal, De Jong, and Busquets anchoring the back. And you think, okay, that we're going to go out aggressive, right? Clearly, Vidal is the player you put in if you want to put a more force forward. He is a decent defender, but for the most part, he puts a lot of his opportunity as an additional striking force in the box. So half started as good as it could have, really. I mean, this was a game of three tails. There was the first half, which was pretty lackadaisical for Barcelona. Then you had the beginning of the second half, and then I'll get to that third portion. But when you started the first half, it was great. The balls were moving around. I mean, the passing was much better. It was much crisper. There was much more space. But I think a lot of this was driven by the fact that Espanyol got a lot more lazy in their defense. If you were to watch that second half, they were no longer lined up horizontally, straight lines, compact defense. Whereas in the first half, even with their lead, even with their 1-0 lead, they were playing tighter defense than they did in the second half. Not sure why. They were playing loosey-goosey. They, instead of having, 8 players always lined up back, there was times where you had, only 7 back, and there was a lot more space. Players were able to run off, and Barcelona works best in space. And unfortunately, they've been taken advantage of lately, whereas people give them zero space to play with on the 18-yard box. They hold their line on the 18-yard box, which is where Barcelona loves to give and goes. They keep an eye on Jordi Alba running down the left, and that's how they do it. And another thing I noticed in this game, Espanyol was amazingly effective at taking on Barcelona from the right side. They waited for opportunities where either Jordi Alba was up or he was coming back from an offensive run, and they were taking on Langley. They were taking on PK. And I've noticed it, I think it was, I saw 5 different occasions where from the right side, they were able to make a move, get around the defender, and get a shot off or a cross off. They were highly effective on that right side. And that is something we didn't see when Jordi Alba was out. I think Jordi Alba is an impeccable defender, and he does a great job, but it was clear his role was to be on the offensive half of this game. And it was clear in watching the game that they knew that, right? So you have to ask yourself, is Barcelona getting a little predictable? You just have to ask yourself that. Are we getting predictable? 50th minute, Barcelona ties it up. The goal was by Suarez, and that was up that left side again. Jordi Alba played in a perfect ball around the defense into almost, actually, it was more up and down. Hit it into the box basically to the left corner of the 6-yard box. Suarez, perfect touch, hits it in that left side. The only small crack that the goalie wasn't guarding. Goal. Awesome. You could feel the mojo was in the room. You could feel things were getting exciting. It was much more attitude from that point on. And then they kept playing well. Once again, Espanyol wasn't playing good defense like they were in the first half, so they were giving Barcelona a lot more space. 59th minute, Suarez gathered a ball in the box. He loaded up. He had his right foot. You know how he does that right foot outside of the right foot cross. He finds in the box, Vidal flying in the far post. Vidal hits it a header. Goal. So you're looking at a 2-1 game, and you're thinking, okay, what is Barcelona going to do to make sure they hold on to this lead? We're going to keep attacking. Well, that's fine and all, but unfortunately, there were 2 instances where Frenkie de Jong, in the first one, he had to hold there was going to be a counterattack on the offensive third, but since Barcelona was pushing so far up, he felt that he had to pull the Espanyol player down to the ground to make sure he didn't have a breakaway. Well, the second occasion of this, in the 73rd minute, Frenkie de Jong was playing with the ball. Espanyol snuck around him while he was dribbling the ball, right? Stole the ball. He had to pull him to the ground. 2 yellows, red card. Barcelona's playing a man down for the last 15 minutes of the game with extra time, 19 minutes of the game. So in order to adjust for that, after that play, you have to take out Griezmann, which is fine. Valverde's typical play. You put Roberto in the center mid, then you put Semedo on the right. The problem was, it was like, and maybe this is just my opinion, but there was like not a consensus of what the plan was. Because you look at the game, you look at the field, the majority of the players were still attacking as if it was a full 11-man squad, as if they didn't have a red card, as if they didn't have a lead 2-1, understanding that they were still getting vulnerable. They were still having vulnerable moments where they were getting threats, were coming through. So, as you see some of these, oh my gosh, oh no, don't pass there, oh my gosh. What do we see in all the games where Barcelona is taking advantage of? It's that through ball. It's always that through ball behind the defense. 89th minute, Wu Lee, you can see it happening. You can almost see it happen in slow motion. He's running along with the defense. It's not like there's too many people. There's too much space on Espanyol's right side. That left side with Jordi Alba, Vidal were not closing down the defense as fast as they needed to. Played the ball in through the right side, going towards the near post. Wu Lee hit the ball, back post. It's possible that Neto, I don't know, I guess if you look at it, it's possible that Neto could have come out as soon as he saw that ball being played around the defense, but it's hard to say because of the fact it happened so fast, but ball was placed far post, goal. We got ourselves a 2-2 tie. Barcelona, and an opportunity to win the game and put themselves points ahead on number one in La Liga. They lose 2 points and go home with 1. And it is what it is. But I think it'd be interesting to see how they adjust from this, because the first half, honestly, it was a story of 3 games. First half, lazy. It was lazy. Espanyol was the disciplined side. First, I'd say about 30 minutes of the game, Barcelona was playing smooth, attacking. Hard to tell if it was because of the fact that the defense of Espanyol was giving them space, or because they got their mojo back, right? They're attacking, they're putting them on the run. And then the last 15 minutes, the sheer inability to adjust to having a red card was kind of disappointing. Because it wasn't like they couldn't hold Espanyol off. But the reality is, you're a man down. Frankie de Jong is not just a regular player either. He is a critical player in the middle. You think that just by filling in that hole with Roberto and making no other adjustments to pull defensive back, to make sure that either Vidal stays back or to make sure that Jordi Alba stays back, it was the same plan. Target down the left, target down the right, cut through the middle. And don't get me wrong, we did see some flashes from Messi. We did see some flashes from... But when our team is so predictable, we're making it so much easier on the other team. And I could see it with Messi. Every time I got the ball on the right side, they're going, I'm just going to defend line side. I dare you to try to take me on line side, because normally you would have an option to pass to Roberto, but I know he's no threat, so I'm just going to only guard this threat on the right side. But anyway, 2-2 tie. It was good to see him back on the game. I just wish we could have won. It was almost over. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoyed their holiday, had some good time with their family. Talk to everyone soon.